Hey, fifth grade. Today we're going to start with making our own shaker because we're going to use this shaker in some of our new rhythms that we're going to learn about. So you're going to have to gather some supplies, and they can be from the recycling bin or an empty container that you have laying around the house. So for example, I have a water bottle that I had finished, obviously, and I didn't put in the recycling because I knew I needed to use it for this. But in my recycling, I also found this large tea bottle, and I made sure I rinsed it out because, as you probably know, you can still get some leftover residue at the bottom from whatever was in the container. So if you do pick something out of your recycling that had liquid in it, then make sure you rinse it out with water. It's okay if water's at the bottom a little bit, but you don't want anything sticky or gross. So those are two options. You could also use an empty shoebox. You can use a Tupperware container with a lid. You can use another empty type of box, or a metal container of some sort of plastic container. So you'll need that, and you'll also need things to put inside. So obviously these things need to be small, and there's a couple different options. So I'm trying to hold it up so you can see. I have some change from my change jar, and then I also have some dry rice as an example. So those are two things you could use. You could also use dried beans or dried pasta of some sort. You can use beads if you have them from necklaces or bracelet making kits. Paper clips work. Anything that's plastic and small or metal and small or dried food works, but obviously cotton balls or paper of some sort, they're not going to make the type of sound that we will need. So that is the other thing you need to get. So you need a container with a lid, and you also need something to put inside. So pause the video and go and find those two things that you need. Make sure you ask your parents' permission before you take something, in case they're using it for something else. So pause the video and go find what you need and come back. Okay, now that you have what you need, you're going to make your shaker. So I have my big container, which is empty right now. I'm going to put my pennies inside. You don't need a lot of whatever you're putting inside. I have 7 cents, 7 pennies, if you didn't figure that out. So I'm going to put my pennies inside. And then I'm going to put the lid back on and close it, make sure it's closed tight so that when I shake, nothing will fly out. So once my pennies, if you can see, are inside, I'm going to give it a shake. So hopefully you heard that you get that metallic type of sound similar to when we play tambourines or sleigh bells at school, because what's inside is metal. Now, if your container is metal, you'll also get that similar type of sound because whatever's inside is hitting metal. So that's a type of shaker sound you could get. If you use rice or something dried, like beans or pasta, or even something plastic like beads, which I already put into, my small bottle, you'll get more of a sound like a maraca or an egg shaker like this. So it really depends on the type of sound you want, and the type of container you have. So if you're using rice or something small that there's a lot of, you obviously, if you look inside, you don't need a lot. I think I have about a teaspoon in there. If you put too much in and you go to shake, it's not going to make a shaker type sound because they're all going to move at the same time and it's going to be more like a thud. So you don't want a thud because that means you have too much in there. You want them to all move freely instead of uniformly. So make sure you only put a little bit of whatever you have in your container and then close the lid tight, because otherwise you're going to make a mess. So take a second and put together your shaker and then test it out. Okay, so before we get to the new rhythms for today, let's try some ones that we have already worked on before. So we have ta, which is our half note, ta, which is our quarter note, tt, which is our eighth note pair, and rest, which is our quarter rest. So I'm going to say and shake my shaker, and then I want you to do it after me, just like when we're in class. So listen and repeat. Ta, ti, ti, ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, 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 ta. Right, good. Okay, so that was just some practice with your shaker. Okay, so now we have this poem, and if you notice, there are some highlighted words in the poem that I want you to pay close attention to as I read it. So just listen and follow the words as I read. The woodpecker pecked out a little round hole and made him a house in the telephone pole. One day I watched, he poked out his head, and he had on a hood and a collar of red. When the streams of the rain poured out of the sky, and the sparkles of lightning go flashing by, and the big, big wheels of thunder roll, he can snuggle back in the telephone pole. Okay, so I'm going to say the poem again, and I'd like you to clap the bolded words with me. So we have woodpecker, that's our first one. Then we have telephone pole. And then in the second paragraph, we have lightning. And then he can snuggle. And then telephone pole again at the end. Okay, so only those words, you're going to clap them with me. If it helps you to say them at the same time, go ahead and do that too. If you need to say the whole poem with me, that's totally fine. But make sure you at least clap the rhythm of those words. Okay, ready, go. The woodpecker pecked out a little round hole and made him a house in the telephone pole. One day I watched, he poked out his head, and he had on a hood and a collar of red. When the streams of the rain poured out of the sky, and the sparkles of lightning go flashing by, and the big, big wheels of thunder roll, he can snuggle back in his telephone pole. Okay, I think I accidentally clapped back, and I apologize for that. Now, the words that were bolded in our rhythm are now going to be, in the rhythm of the poem, we're going to now use in this next example. So at the top of your page, it says each word or phrase below from the poem is on one beat. So they put pole on one beat by itself, lightning on one beat by itself, woodpecker on one beat by itself, telephone on one beat by itself, and he can snuggle on one beat by itself, and then it shows us an empty steady beat as a rest, which we already know. Okay, so pole should look familiar because it's one sound on one steady beat, which means it's ta. Lightning should also be familiar because that's two sounds on one steady beat, so it's an eighth note pair. But now we have combinations of three sounds on one steady beat, and then even a four sounds on one steady beat. So we're going to say and clap the word on each steady beat 4 times. So it's 4 times for pole and 4 times for lightning and so on. Okay, so doing this with me. Ready, go. Pole, 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 pole. Second box, lightning. Ready, go. Lightning, 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 lightning. Third box, woodpecker. Ready, go. Woodpecker, 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 woodpecker. Second row, telephone, ready, go. Telephone, 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 telephone. Next box, he can snuggle, ready, go. He can snuggle, he can snuggle, he can snuggle, he can snuggle. Okay, so if you notice, even though woodpecker and telephone both have 3 sounds on the beat, they are a different combination of long and short sounds. Woodpecker, the long sounds in the beginning, and telephone, the long sounds at the end. Because if you think of the compound word, you have wood and phone, and they're both one beat. Now at the bottom, you have 2 patterns. We're looking at pattern number 1 first. You're going to clap the red birds and then pat the blue birds. Okay, so we're going to try it together. Ready, go. Lightning, lightning, he can snuggle lightning. Lightning, lightning, he can snuggle pole. Okay, and our second pattern is woodpecker, telephone, rest. rest. Let's try it one more time. Woodpecker, telephone. All right, for
Rest.
this next part, you're going to
Rest.
need a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. So go ahead and pause the video and grab those two items and come back. On your piece of paper, you're going to draw steady beat bars. I want 4 in a row, and I want 2 rows. Okay, so I'm going to do it on my whiteboard. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 2 rows, 4 steady beat bars in each row. Sorry if the light reflects and you can't see too well, but I have my steady beat bars set up. Now you're going to use the words that were in the rhythms we just practiced. So you have telephone, woodpecker, lightning, pole, he can snuggle, and rest. Using some of or all of those words, you're going to make your steady beat pattern with the rhythm on top. So you're just going to write the words. Don't worry about drawing any birds or anything like that. So I'm going to create my pattern. Now he can snuggle is going to be tight, so write kind of tiny for that. Okay, mine's finished. So let's take a look at mine. So I have pole, he can snuggle, rest, woodpecker, pole, lightning, telephone, pole. So I'm going to practice saying that and clapping that a couple of times so that I can get the rhythm with the steady beat. So one more time before I put it down, it's pole, he can snuggle, woodpecker, pole, lightning, telephone, pole. Okay, so I practiced that and I practiced clapping it. Give me a second. Put this down. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. I found my cap lid. Okay, so I'm going to go pole, he can snuggle, woodpecker, pole, lightning, telephone, pole. So take a couple of minutes with your rhythm that you created using those words from the poem and the rhythms we practiced together, and practice your 8-beat rhythm that you have written down on your paper, saying and clapping. When you're ready, switch to your shaker. So each syllable in the word is a shake. So mine would be pole, he can snuggle, woodpecker, pole, lightning, telephone, pole. Okay, and then practice that a couple of times to get it into your head and muscle memory. And then when you're ready, you're going to go to Flipgrid. Click the Google sign in so that you use your school email, and you're going to record a video of yourself performing your rhythm, and this will be for your assignment grade. So one more time, you put the 8 steady beat bars on your paper, then you write your pattern using the words from the poem that we had in the rhythms we practiced together. So there's pole, he can snuggle, you have a choice of a rest, woodpecker, lightning, and telephone. I believe that's all your choices, if I remember correctly. And then practice saying and clapping it. Then practice saying and playing it with your homemade shaker. And then when you're ready, go to Flipgrid and record yourself performing your pattern with your shaker. Now it's up to you. I'm going to give you the option. You can either say your words and play your shaker, or you can just think your words and just play the rhythm of them out loud with your shaker. So if I was going to do that for mine, remember it's pole, he can snuggle, woodpecker, pole, lightning, telephone, pole. So if I was just going to think the words, I can still put them on my lips, but don't let them come out of my mouth, and just play my shaker, it would sound like this. So I'll give you that option. If you want to try that challenge, Make sure you're doing it correctly still so that your grade doesn't get affected by it. Or you can say the words and play your shaker at the same time. That's your choice.